you're not even a year old in
No.
this new venture. What are you doing to find prospects? How are you going about that?
Yeah. So before I started the simple company, I had another company called the Future Academy,
Hmm.
which the mistake I made with that coming from the brick and mortar consulting world was like, I started to attract a lot of solopreneurs. And don't get me wrong, I love solopreneurs. I love the
Hmm.
people, but it was more of a transactional, a little bit of a, it wasn't really the type of customer that I wanted. So I transitioned
Hmm.
and we rebranded, if you will. So from that, we have about 24,000 email contacts, put out a
Hmm.
ton of
Great.
content. I'm not big on any channel like that, but it's enough to attract leads. So that's kind of
Hmm.
what we do. I have a podcast, email, I do Instagram, all that stuff that most people do, and that's been
Hmm.
working quite nicely. We still run ads. We don't really get them working. I'm kind of almost ready to quit, to be honest, because I just like keep experimenting, and for a while they haven't really been working for us so well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And maybe it's just what you're doing is different, right? I mean, it's anytime you're working to disrupt, it's a lot harder,
Yeah.
right? People are used to doing things the way they're used to doing, and I think part of it is getting the right, for lack of a better word, keyword, right? Figuring out what the language is that you need to use to get somebody's attention, right? So
Yeah.
what
And
is go on?
no, I was gonna say, Carol, like I actually ate my own cookie because I was like, wait a minute, like I'm talking to these agency owners, professional service firms mainly, and saying like, hey, you should have a more recurring, reliable, predictable business. Like I ended up in
Mhm.
this what I call one night stand business, which is like very transactional. Like they'll buy something for you for 10K once, and then like there's not really a continuation from there. I'm like, no, that's
Mm.
not the business I want to own. So that's why we switched it up a little bit. Sorry, please
Is
go
that
on.
because you were working with solopreneurs, or
Yeah,
was it okay? And so
yeah.
what is it about the solopreneurs that is transactional?
Well, I mean, it. I'm not sure if it's about them or maybe it was my offer, but I do know
Mhm.
that many solopreneurs have the goal of just figuring out how to support themselves and have a nice lifestyle. So they're kind of like
Mhm.
lifestyle entrepreneurs. And I'm not so
Mhm.
interested in that. I'm interested in people who are like what I call real entrepreneurs, where you're
Mhm.
building a business that is about something else than just yourself. You want to
Right.
have an impact, you want to make a difference, you want to build something like that gets me really excited. I'm frankly not so interested in
Mhm.
like helping somebody make a little bit more money who's a freelance designer or somebody else.
Mhm.
Again, love the people, but it's not really my
No,
thing.
listen, I mean, listen, the fact that you're clear about that is important, right? So many
Yeah.
people go into businesses and they're not clear on, who should they be selling to? Why should they be selling to that person? Many different things, right?
Yeah. And
And
then
I think that's why so many
sorry.
entrepreneurs fail
Yeah,
because they're
you're
just not
definitely
clear
right.
about that.
Yes.
Or they're not really solving a problem that needs to be solved.
That's it. I think when you are a solopreneur who want to build something bigger, you still have quite a few steps to go,
Mhm.
and a big part of that is mindset and starting to think bigger and starting
Mhm.
to get over your biggest fears. So in some ways, I became a little bit of a lot of a therapist for a lot of people,
Yeah.
which I kind of enjoy as well. But it's like, oh, let's go. They still have many steps to take to becoming business owners. If you know
Mhm.
what I mean? So
So steps like what, for example? What are they
I mean,
missing?
I think if let's say you start a business doing what you're good at, which
Mhm.
is basically where this first potential problem lies, because now you are doing the operations and the delivery. And it's quite
Yeah.
hard to get rid of that. So you're like, oh, I'm
Mhm.
maxed out. I have already have 6 clients. Well, like, well, how are we
Mhm.
going to grow from there? Now we can do certain things with your business to standardize and make that more profitable,
Mhm.
and that's fine. But it's very hard for you to make the transition if you're in a solopreneur mindset into
Right.
what you need to be, which I believe is to think like a business owner, where you step
Mhm.
aside from the operations of the business, you know, And if you don't do that, you're going to, again, not have anything scalable about what you do. And if I can add one more thing, is like, again, a
Mhm.
mindset thing is people have very modest goals. And I don't get inspired by that, if I can just be blunt. I mean, people come in and they'll say, like, I'm earning 5K in my dream. I say, what's the dream that excites you? And they go like, 9,000 a month. Like,
Oh,
okay,
shoot.
like,
Yeah, right.
you could do a lot more than that. And I know it's not about the
Mm.
money, but like, let's think bigger. I think that's the true challenge, because you have
Well,
to first be able to believe what's possible for
yeah.
you.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's a really great point, Tobias. I'm glad you said that because, this is, this is a lot of what I see, what I hear. There's what my feelings are about the coaching industry. It's a low barrier to entry. Anybody can raise their
Yeah.
hands with no experience and no training and say, "Hey, I'm a coach." Right. And
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of that. Gosh, I'd be happy to make $9,000 or $10,000 a month. Right. I'd be
Yeah.
making over
Yeah.
$100,000 a year. Yay me. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
gosh, I mean, I haven't been at, that low of an income since 30 years, probably, or 28 years or something like that. Right.
Which
So
is
I
great.
think it's all a benchmark that people have. And there's a lot of people out there that can serve that market. You don't need to.
100%. And what we used to hear on sales calls a lot, it's like,
Mm.
I like, what's your goal? What are you dreaming of? Well, I don't want to sound greedy, but I think
That
I
one.
could do 20K. And I'm like, wait a minute, let's talk about that. you, you,
Greedy.
you're greedy for holding that thing, that talent that you have,
Yeah.
and not sharing with the
Yeah.
world. Like, when did we start thinking that earning money is being greedy? Because
Is
in a
evil.
business,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
different.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I know this
yeah.
always been there, but like,
Yeah.
let's be honest, like, money is the oxygen of business, and money is kind of a way to keep score of how much impact you're making as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it's not the only thing, but
yeah,
it's how we keep
you're
score.
right. And again, I don't want to get too sidetracked on this because I think, not everybody wants to be a billionaire, right? And I think, part of it is really asking somebody, right? Like, what do you want out of your career? What do you want
Yeah.
financially? What do you want? I mean, all those things. Because, I used to say when I was still doing search work full time, um, I would ask people, it's not for me to tell you how much money you should want to make. It's
Yeah.
not my
Yeah,
business.
exactly.
And that's like really, trying to put a square peg into a round hole by doing that.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
where are they now? What are you looking for? And the reason I'm asking is because I need to know if this is going to be a fit or what I should call you, when I should call you in the future about opportunities. Right. So those are the
Yeah.
reasons I ask those questions. And it's, the same thing for you, which
Yeah.
is, what do you want out of your business and career? And if the answer doesn't fit
Exactly.
what you're selling, then they're not a prospect for you, really.
Yeah.
Um, I
And
mean, it's kind of the
that's so
same thing.
true. And
Yeah.
and if I can add a third thing to the
Hmm.
solopreneur dilemma, is that people who think in a slightly, let's say, um, they don't think big enough, they're also usually pretty frugal, and for understandable reasons. I think true entrepreneurs, whether they have money or not, they bet on themselves. And very few
Hmm.
people do, who is like, well, to invest 10K, if you're making 10K or 5K, is a big investment. You know
Hmm.
what? Do you think that the people who came before you, the people that you look up to, the great entrepreneurs, do you think
Just
they
got
would have
lucky.
found a way to do it? Of
Right.
course. So it comes down to mindset for me.
Carol Schultz here. Thanks for watching this excerpt from Authentically Successful. The conversation doesn't end there. So if you want to hear this episode in full and all my conversations with many other successful founders and CEOs, please visit verticalelevation.com/podcast.